Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we'll talk about the Bitmain's Ethereum miner, and we'll talk about the controversy between the allegedly Bitcoin founder and the Ethereum founder that has been going on at the Economy conference in South Korea. But let's jump first into this story about the Ant miner. So as you know, guys, we've already talked kind of about Bitmain coming out with this Ethereum miner, and it looks like it will ship by the mid-end July. It's around $800. It's not shipping to Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan. It's around 13 kilos, and it's just limited to one person per purchase, so you can only buy one miner per person. You can buy it directly on Bitmain, and it is expected to ship approximately mid to end July. And I know that from the last video we've had people asking about whether Ethereum is not moving towards proof of stake. Yes, there are plans to do that, but currently it is still proof of work. So the Ant miner is kind of trying to cover that area. As long as Ethereum hasn't switched properly to to a different chain type of confirmation validation type of thing, the Ant miner will still be working through proof of work that Ethereum is using to confirm transactions. Proof of stake is coming. Nobody knows exactly when it is coming, but there is still some development going on there. So maybe this year, maybe towards the end of this year, but in the meantime, the Ant miner will probably gather a lot of demand from a lot of people. So if you're into mining and if you're into these kind of things, you should check it out. Although also with mining and with the price volatility, there's always a risk that you won't recoup this amount of money anytime soon. Now, next up, we have kind of an interesting story here. So The Economy is kind of a conference in South Korea that is talking about the distributed economy. And there was a panel, I think it was even today, with a bunch of people, including Roger Ver, and or actually there were some presentations before as well, and Craig Wright actually did a presentation. And for those of you who don't know who Craig Wright is, he's the alleged part of Satoshi Nakamoto, the developer team behind the original Bitcoin and the Bitcoin white paper. So he's an Australian businessman and mathematician who is saying that he was the one who created, or he was part of the team which created Bitcoin. There's a lot of controversy, guys. I'm not even going to jump into these kind of stories and stuff. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It doesn't really matter at this stage. What was interesting is that Vitalik Buterin, he is the founder or co-founder of Ethereum. He was actually in the crowd, and he listened to those there was a panel going on where they were kind of discussing Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies. And interestingly, Vitalik then started live tweeting this entire thing from his perspective. I will link this tweet storm, if you will, and he has tweeted quite a lot of things. I think up to 30, 40 tweets about the discussion in general. And obviously he's making some, I want to say, almost snarky comments, but I think they have a strong ground. Obviously Vitalik has a very strong opinion on these topics, and I still believe he's a very, very smart individual, so I think it's worth a listen. Now, most stuff that he talks about is fairly technical, and for most people this will be already a bit too much. However, I believe as an investor, you should take your time and understand what the discussion or the base of the discussion here actually is. It will take a bit of time and a bit of research, a bit of reading up on certain topics. So don't get discouraged. It's like for all of us, it's very similar. If math geniuses and inventors and innovators at this level start discussing and arguing. There is a lot of context missing for, I want to say, the non-knowledgeable people. So for the normal investor, obviously, it can't be expected that all these people know all these things that are being discussed here. Nonetheless, I think there are certain topics that you could get really into. Generally, the idea of what is Bitcoin? Is the currency? Is it the store of value? How is Bitcoin being used right now? What are the technical limitations of Bitcoin? And what are kind of the proposed solutions to it? And I think this is a really interesting discussion. I don't even want to go too much into the drama that happened at the conference. Essentially, Vitalik Buterin called Craig Wright kind of a fraud. This is a different discussion in my opinion. I think what is really important and the essence of this is that there was some technical discussion going on, and Vitalik's opinion here matters a lot because he's at the forefront of developing Ethereum, kind of the platform when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So I think his tweet storm, combined with the story that's behind it, combined with some of the book and link recommendations that he gives, should give you quite a good understanding of where the technology is going towards and what we can expect in the coming months and years. And this, for you as kind of a long-term investor, as someone who believes in this technology, is super important that you're kind of on the top of your game here and start listening when these smart people start talking. So obviously watching YouTube videos or listening to the podcast or reading books, these are all parts of kind of your doing your homework before investing into a new asset such as a cryptocurrency or crypto asset, if you will. And I will link all of these things below. Short episode today, so we're already at the end. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast. Join us in the Telegram channel as well. I link it up in the description, or rather in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.